Good morning. This morning I'm going to show you how to model the cut that a core box router bit makes in wood. This particular core box router bit has a radius of 1/4 inch and a radius of 1/4 inch, and we're going to model it as though it's 1/4 inch deep into the wood, a 1/4 inch deep cut. You can model it as a 1/2 inch deep cut or whatever, up to whatever this length is, but this morning I'm just going to show you how to do it as a 1/4 inch deep cut. Okay, so let's get going. I'll move this out of the way. And what you see here are 5 examples of a cut you might make. The first one's a single line. The second one's multiple lines with the router bit. The third one's a serpentine with square edges, and then a serpentine with round edges. And lastly, a racetrack. Now, if you look closely at these, all of these are modeled correctly except this one. This is actually, it's obvious that it's modeled correctly, as is this. This one you have to look at it a bit before you realize, and you think about the cut that a core box router bit makes in wood when you have this kind of pattern. These corners would be square, as they're shown here, but these corners would be rounded. Think about that. Think about how the bit goes around corners, square corners, and what happens. These corners would be rounded. This is correct. And this is correct. Notice the inside corner is square, the outside corner is rounded. Getting this effect is tricky. And I'm going to show you how to do that this morning. On my popular woodworking blog, you can go to the home page, look under blogs, and look under the daily blogs, and you'll find I did a blog of how to do this with a 9-minute video, and it sort of covered the overview of it. This morning I'm going to go into detail in a much longer video, probably about a 1/2 hour, and show you exactly what happens here. But these 7 tabs will show you the steps I had to take to get to where I wanted to go. First thing you should notice is that I started with a board that was 6 inches by 24 inches in all these cases. But because of a phenomena in SketchUp where very small triangles or very small surfaces sometimes don't get created correctly, and sometimes they're just out and out missing, what I did was I scaled this up to a factor of 10. And I'll show that here. Notice if I measure this from here to here, that's 240 inches, which is 10 times 24. And this is 60 inches, 10 times 6. The depth of this board is similarly scaled up. That's what I'm going to do is once I create all of the model, I'll scale it back down by a factor of 10 and have what I want. The other thing I had to do is out here get prepared for the trough that will be made in this wood with this kind of pattern. What I did was I put a circle that lies in the blue-green plane with a surface that's going to create, that when I use the Follow Me tool will create what it is I want. I also created a path so that I can get a sphere out of this pattern. So I created a path up here which is actually a circle without a surface in the green-red plane. And then I created my path on the board. And I created that path for each of these patterns. I got rid of the top surfaces, and notice now I got my sphere with the hidden lines showing at both ends. I'm not going to need both of them today. You need both ends when you do this pattern or this pattern or this pattern or this one. You don't need it when you do this pattern. But you can see where in order to get the ends here, you would need these patterns. Next thing I did was I cut this up to drop it in. You can see where I'm going to drop it in right here at the ends of each of these, here, likewise on the other ends. Here, only on this end and this end. Once I drop it in, I get this shape. But down here, I need to find a way to get this shape. So what I did was I cut this up into a bunch of patterns. 1/8 spheres so that I could drop it into the corners. And that's what I'm going to show you today. We're going to start over here. Get going with this. All right, so what I want to do is I want to create a board. It's going to be 60 by 240. So I'll type 240, comma 60. And it's 3/4 of an inch thick, which is 0.75 times 10 is 7.5. There's my board. Now what I want to do is I want to create my racetrack pattern, and I'll do that with the offset tool. I want to bring it in 1 inch from the edge, times 10 is 10 inches. But this end and this end I want to be 20 inches. I've already got 10, so I'm going to use the move tool, bring it in another 10 inches. Here, likewise another 10 inches. I'm going to get rid of my surfaces for the moment. They're going to cause me problems if I don't get rid of them. All right, now I want a vertical circle, a circle in the blue-green plane. So in order to get that, I'm going to use the circle tool. I'm going to blow up or zoom in on the end here close. And I'm going to make sure that my circle is totally within this end. And I'm going to hit the Shift key. Now I can keep that orientation as long as I have the Shift key down. And I'm going to place that circle right here at the midpoint of this racetrack. The radius, and when I draw this, I want to make sure that my radius is on either the blue or green axis. The radius is 1/4 of an inch, times 10 is 2.5 inches. There we go. Now I want this to be a trough. So what I need to do is to cut this circle in half. And I'll start here at the center, go out along the green to an end point, and I'll come the other way to an end point. And if I did this correctly, I can remove this top half of the circle. And I should look at this from the front, just to make sure that it looks right. Maybe I'll even turn on, there we go. There's my half circle, looking at it from the front. Nothing sticking above. It looks right. Okay. I have my trough. Next thing I want to do is select the path. So I'll use the select tool and the control key to help me select just the path. Now with the follow me tool, create my trough. With the select tool, I'll first get rid of that surface, then I'll get rid of my original path. I have to reverse these faces. Okay, there we go. Everything looks fine. Now these inside corners are great, no problem. The outside corners are not correct. They should be rounded. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the circle tool again. What I'll do is I'll come in here, go to roughly halfway, come down, and again, I want this to be a radius of 1/4 inch times 10 is 2.5. I'm going to select the surface, double click on the surface, which will give me the surface plus the circle. And I'll move that away. Bring it out here someplace. And now I want to create another circle. Let me deselect that circle. I want to create another circle. I'm going to hold this over this surface until I get and push the shift key down so I can hold the blue orientation. I'm going to look for the topmost part of this. Come out along the red axis. And I might as well use the same radius of 2.5. It doesn't matter what the radius is really, but I'm going to use the same radius. Notice I've got two orthogonal circles. I'm going to get rid of this surface. I don't need it. All I want is that path. And with that path and the follow me tool, I can now create a sphere. Once I have that sphere, I can get rid of the original path. Now let's look at this sphere from the top. First of all, I don't have it in a place I want it. Let me move it. I want it outside, any place outside here, like that. What I want to do with this sphere is I want to cut it into 1/8 sphere. So I'm going to make it a semisphere first, then a quadrisphere, if you will, and then a 1/8 sphere. And the way I'm going to do that is with the select tool. Normally what I would do is I take the select tool from right to left like this and hope to select only half the sphere. But I can't do that because this surface is all one surface. What I need to help me is I need to view hidden geometry. Now what I can do, I can very carefully do this. I may have a little cleanup of things that I didn't quite get that way. Now I've got them. I'm also going to take this off. Now I've got a semisphere, I want a quadrisphere. I don't know if that's a word, by the way. And some cleanup. And now if I look at this, I want to get rid of the top half. So I'll look at it from the front. And again, select the top half. And now I have my quadrisphere. Now there's a couple of things I have to do. I've done this enough in enough different projects that I know to do this. But I'm going to want these upper lines, these top lines. I'm going to select them. Should be 6 of them. If I bring in the entity info, Notice that they are softened and smooth. I want to uncheck soften and smooth in the entity info. When I've done that, notice what's happened. These are solid lines. Next thing I want to do is I want to select this whole thing and reverse faces. Now, having done this, I can look at it from the top again. And I need 4 of these. So what I'll do, I'll use the Move Copy tool. With the Control key, move them down along the green 10 inches. And I'll do that 3x times. That'll give me 4 of them. This one I've got to rotate 90 degrees. Well, 90. This one I've got to rotate 180. This one I've got to rotate minus 90. So I'll do that by going counterclockwise. I could also go 270 clockwise. And something doesn't look right here. Something doesn't look right at all. That looks better. I'm not sure why this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What view do we have here? Parallel projection, top. These don't look right to me. Not sure why. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to hold the Shift key down to make sure I'm rotating this correctly. And let me select them. All right, I got the blue. $90. $180. Now they're looking correct, so I'm not sure what I did wrong the last time. Minus 90. Okay, I think I've got it. All right. So what I'm going to do now is pick this up right here at this point. I'm going to go down to here until I think I've got this right. There we go. Place it in that corner. Get this one. Pick it up on that point right there. See if I can place this correctly. There we go. 1, 2. Pick that up. This one's giving me a little trouble. There we go, finally. I didn't want to leave this go until I was on the correct point, because if I leave it go on the wrong point, it'll stick to that point, because all of the rest of this is still primitives. And if I leave it stick to that point, then I try to move it, other points will move and the whole thing will become distorted. So I didn't want to drop it until I had exactly the right point to set it down. Always set it down out in white space if you have to set it down someplace that you don't want to. And sometimes what you can do is you can get other points to help you. Like if I can get on that point, I might be able to ride that point down. I still have to go up one more point and hopefully I can ride it up. There we go. Well, that was tricky. All right, now I'm almost home. What I have to do is a little cleanup. What I'll do, I'll get rid of the bottom surface as well. Go around back, zoom in. With the erase tool, I'll very carefully come down here. Whoops, what am I doing? That's not what I wanted. I wanted to get rid of that, that, and that. There we go. That's what I wanted. Now here's the thing, how do you want to model this? Do you want this to be smooth or do you want it showing? I'm going to worry about that later, but I think I'm going to smooth it. You can do it either way depending on how you think you want to model it. But let me get the rest of this done first. And lastly, all right, now I'll put my bottom surface back. Something tells me that wasn't the bottom surface. There we go. Now I need the top surfaces. And maybe if I'm lucky, I'll just go from one of these points to this point. This point to this point, and now I can erase these. And this one I'll coax this way. And I'll look at this from the top. Get rid of hidden geometry. I think I'm going to choose to hide these with the Shift key. You can do it with the lines in or with the lines out. If you want the lines in, you either, before you copied this 8th sphere, you should have made those lines solid just like I did the top lines, or like I'm doing here, hiding these. Let's make sure I got them all. All right, there we go. We now have what we wanted. To finish this, what we want to do is scale it down. Let's see what happens when we do. I sure hope this doesn't ruin things. Notice when I scale it down, I'm going to use uniform scale. You can't see that. Uniform scale about opposite point. The diagonal points. I'm going to scale it 0.1. And I'll blow it up, or not blow it up, but fill the screen, make some measurements. Let me make some measurements here. 6 inches, 24 inches, 3/4 inch. There we go. We got what we wanted. And the circles are modeled correctly. Okay. Hope that showed you a little something, taught you something. Hopefully you had some fun, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.